Hey, hello everybody. How are we doing today? Another it's Wednesday again, shockingly. Don't you find it weird how quickly we go from one week to the next? I find myself spending I seem that all the time. I'm doing the same thing. Like I'm either writing the newsletter on Monday or I'm logging into the live streams on Wednesday. Not that I'm complaining or anything. I do enjoy the live streams. Um, and today we're having a coffee for the coffee break. So we're all beautifully on brand and selected for everything. Sorry, some musical interlude kind of popped up there. So how's everybody doing? It is a relatively a decent day for London, and I find it quite shocking that it hasn't gotten cold yet. Isn't that weird? We're like the middle of November and we hardly have the heating on, and we can still kind of go around with a tiny coat. So there, you're all complaining about climate change. It's beautiful. So I mean, I don't know. It depends. This thing, even talking about these things, has become contentious lately. Right. So what we are here for today is what we are doing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We take a break from work, put on our headphones, try and hide ourselves from anybody who might be watching, pick up a cup of coffee, and attempt some MCQs. But we're not just attempting any old MCQs, we are attempting a specific set of MCQs. We are going through the SRA's sample papers. Now, what are those? Very briefly, for those of you that are new to this game, the SRA has made available a stack of example questions in the style of SQE1. And that, for all the complaining that I do, that is a nice thing. We have to give it to them. We have to acknowledge that this was a nice thing to do, to give us a sort of from the horse's mouth impression of what MCQs for the SQE are going to look like. Now, what they haven't done, which is a little annoying, they haven't given us actual past exam papers. So we do not have the actual exam questions that the candidates have to sit in the two SQE1 sessions that we've got every year. So pay attention to this because that's important, right? The only authoritative source of information that we've got on what the questions for SQE1 look like are these sample questions on the SRA's website. So if you go to the website of the SRA and you navigate to the areas that it's talking about the SQE and explains what's going on, you're going to come across those sample questions. There are quite a lot of them now, right? Both for SQE1 and SQE2. And you can attempt them. And that is a great idea. And it is an essential component of the preparation of everybody who is thinking about the SQE. I would actually recommend that you go through these questions before you even try any other sets from any prep schools or anything like this. Like when you're at early stages of your preparation, trying to figure out what's going on, then is the time to actually go through these things. But, and there's a but, there's a very significant weakness with those questions. It gives you the questions, it tells you what the correct answers are, but you don't know why. They don't come with an explanation, they don't come with a backstory. And this is what we're doing here every Wednesday during our coffee break for about an hour. Yeah, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. I'm taking you through the questions from the SRA sample, give you a little bit of background of the substantive law that applies to each question, and then we have a think about what the correct answer is going to be. And we explain why the correct answer is correct and why the wrong answers are wrong. That way, we have an opportunity to do a mini revision on the substantive topic that each question is about, which is helpful for everybody, whether you're at the early stages of your preparation or whether you're using it as revision. And also, we get to understand a little bit the logic by which people attempt those questions and figuring out what's going on. So that's why we're here. And happily, we have reached question 47. So I started running these sessions from September. I think we started in the first week of September or something. And we're just plowing through all the questions. I'm going through the package for SQE1 at the FLK1 from SQE1 at the moment. When we finish those, we're going to move into the package for FLK2. So if you want to see all these questions from the beginning, and I advise you that you do so because it's a good background support for your study, start from that live stream that we had from a couple of months ago, right? And it's going to take you through all the questions. So today we are at question 47. I am going to share a set of slides with the questions, so it's easier for you guys to follow. So it should be here. No, it's not. Where's it gone? This is what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when one has too many windows open. Right, so how am I? Yes, I got it, because I was looking at my tabs. I was not looking at my windows. Well, I spent so much time working on tech. Surely, I should be better at this. All right, let's go. So hopefully now your screen has changed and you can see me as a little Greek man at the bottom right-hand side, and you see the questions on the rest of the screen. We've got some people watching us live, which is awesome. Thank you guys for turning up. If everything's okay and you can see everything and the audio and the video and everything's going through okay, give us like a thumbs up so I know that everybody's still connected and everything is happening as it should be. All right. And I'm working my way through a caramel latte over here, you see? You see how fancy I am? Yes. I'm diverging from my traditional flat white and I'm branching into the caramel lattes. Maybe in anticipation of Christmas. We gotta up the game a little bit. Okie dokie. Right. Are we ready for question number 47? This is question 47 from the SRA's sample. A painter goes to a shop which has been trading for several years. He goes there for the first time. The painter hires a set of ladders and signs a collection slip setting out the agreed period and costs. After making payment, and as he leaves the shop, he sees another notice on the shop wall entitled The Notice, which states no liability is accepted for defective products hired. Does the notice form part of the contract between the painter and the shop for the hire of the ladders? Yeah. And I've been in that situation. I have hired a sanding machine and some paint dryers, some wallpaper, strippers and all that stuff from one of those shops. Do not hire a sanding machine without getting the earplugs, because you're gonna go deaf. So, maybe a good reason why I can hardly hear anything anymore is spending like a few days with that sander right there. But anyway, the problem of the painter here is slightly different. How can we tell whether terms have been incorporated into a contract? This is traditional contract law area, so that would be FLK contract law. I've got a variety of really nice videos on contract law that cover the totality of the SRA's specifications, so you can have a look around the channel and kind of watch those. These are actually some of my most popular videos, and I'm happy because contract law is my favorite area, right? That's what I do. That's what I mostly enjoy doing, right? I do business law, I do company, but the core of contract law, I think, is the funniest thing that one can be involved in. Right. Incorporation of terms. Crucial thing for you guys to remember is that English law does not require formalities for standard contracts. So it is not a requirement that you sign a piece of paper or that you get terms and conditions in writing. It is perfectly possible that you have an oral contract. And then we're talking about any express terms and conditions that have been communicated between the parties. What happens if the parties have said nothing? Do we have any Greek people in the audience or anybody been to Greece? In Greece, we've got these kiosks right at the side of the road, like little tiny little shops. Like they look like a kind of cupboard, kind of surrounded by newspapers and stuff. You can transact in those kiosks with zero oral communication. People, when I was a kid, people just used to go up there, kind of point or kind of nod towards the newspaper that they wanted. The guy inside the kiosk would give them the newspaper. They would give them the money. Everybody would just kind of grunt at each other, and they would go. So, did these people have contracts? Considering they never said anything, yes, they absolutely did. In English law, similarly, there are no formalities required for traditional contract formation. What you need is to satisfy a set of criteria. You need agreement that is usually expressed as offer and acceptance. It needs to be supported by consideration, which is an element of value, intention to create legal relations, certainty, and the parties entering into the contract need to have capacity. And that's it. You're done. Okay. You don't see in any of those requirements something that says it needs to be in a document, it needs to be signed, or any of that stuff. It's only specific areas of the law, contracts for the sale of land, insurance contracts, or things along those natures that they need. Okay. So if people don't say much, how do we know that the contract is operational? And how do we fill gaps? There then come the implied terms. Terms can be implied through statute. They can be implied through common dealing between those parties, common dealing within an industry that is consistent enough, or they can come by operation of law in the sense of case law. Right? So that's a little bit of background to kind of dress this up. If we're talking about expressly communicated terms, which is what we've got right now, how do we know that something that has been expressly communicated is or isn't part of the contract? Timing is of the essence. And one of the key requirements is that you get notified in advance of the conclusion of the contract about all the terms and conditions. So let's have another read through the question. Okay, the painter goes to the shop. The shop has been there for a while. The painter hired a set of ladders and signed a collection slip setting out agreed period and costs. When he left the shop, he saw the notice on the shop wall that read "No liability accepted." Is this part or not? I would tell you, if this was a problem question that we were addressing in a classroom together, I would tell you it depends on where the notice was. So he sees the notice as he leaves the shop. What does that mean? Does it mean that the notice is posted at the back of the door, that you can only see it when you're leaving? Or does it mean that the notice was actually somewhere visible within the shop space behind the counter, but he only saw it when he was leaving? That's crucially important. But this isn't a general kind of problem question. This isn't real life. This is a problem question for the SQE as given to us by our friends at the SRA. So we need to understand what the possible correct answer might be within the context of this exercise. Yeah. What are our options here? The question was, does the notice form part of the contract between the painter and the shop for the hire of the ladders? Is it A, no, because the contents of the notice are not incorporated into the contract? B, yes, because the notice constitutes a reasonable notice of its terms? C, yes, because the painter agrees to the terms of the notice by signing the collection slip? D, yes, because having traded for several years, the shop will be able to prove a consistent course of dealing. E, no, because the notice constitutes a mere representation. Okay. Now, this is a bad question. Okay, it's a bad question because it misses the nuance of, it tells me there's a notice that he sees, but it doesn't tell me where the notice is placed in the shop. So I would definitely need more information to be able to resolve this effectively if this was a real case. But this isn't a real case. This is the SQE. You got 2 minutes to work out the correct answer. Let's work by eliminating the wrong ones. If we say E says no because the notice constitutes a mere representation. No, that's wrong. The notice does not constitute mere representation. This is a limitation of liability notice. It depends where it's placed and when it is communicated for us to judge as whether it has become a term of the contract or not. So it is certainly not a mere representation. So E is wrong. So discount that one. D says yes, because having traded for several years, the shop will have can prove consistent course of dealing. With whom? The shop has been there for years. No problem. I'm not disputing this. But how many times has this painter gone to this shop? A painter goes to a shop. The shop has been trading for several years. It doesn't tell us that the painter is a regular customer. So this could work if the painter had done this business with the shop repeatedly and he knew about this. Or it could work if it is common in the industry to have this limitation of terms, and that applies to everybody. I get it, okay? But that's not what's going on here. It doesn't tell us about consistency of practice in the industry. It doesn't tell us that this particular painter is familiar with the shop. So the fact that the shop has been around forever is not relevant, and it doesn't answer our question. So E is wrong, D is wrong. C says yes, because the painter agrees to the terms of the notice by signing the collection slip. Yeah, great. But that incorporation by signature will incorporate whatever is in the document that's been signed. And I will agree with you. It could be that they've read the document and they know what's in it. It could be that they haven't read the document and they've got no idea what's in it. Okay, that does not bother us. The important thing is this limitation of liability thing in the signed document? If it is not, then we still have to deal with the problem of incorporation by notice and to reflect on whether this has been incorporated or not. Okay? So C is wrong because this particular term was not in what we were looking for in the signed document. Now, how about B? Yes, because the notice constitutes a reasonable notice of its terms. Again, I cannot answer this very effectively because I don't know where the notice is placed. If I am to choose, so B could potentially be correct, but which one is a little bit better? Is it B, that yeah constitutes reasonable notice, or is it A, that says no, because the contents of the notice are not incorporated into the contract? Okay, this, you're not gonna like this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. This is not an exact science. You are not looking for a definitive answer that is 100% correct. What you're doing is that you're looking for the most plausible answer. It is possible that the most plausible answer is not the sort of optimal answer that we would give in isolation. Okay? So we are going to pick A as the correct answer because the way that this is phrased, it is trying to create the impression that he was not in a position, the painter was not in a position to see this notice before concluding the contract. Yeah? I know that this is subject to debate, and I know that we would spend a lot of time talking about this if this was a problem question that we discussed in class, but we are approaching this in the context of the SQE. So, this is not a great question. It is not drafted very effectively, but it is helping us understand something useful. When you're attempting problem questions in the SQE, you are not looking for perfection. You're always given a scenario, and then you're given a set of options in relation to this scenario. These options are not going to be perfect. It is very likely that out of the 5 options, you're going to have a couple that seem way off. Either they're wrong on the law or they're wrong on the facts. You're going to have a couple that could be potentially okay, but they are also slightly off, and one that looks to be closer. You're not looking for perfect. You're looking for closer. So do remember this. It is a key component of you getting your head around as to what you're supposed to do with the SQE and how you're supposed to approach these questions. You are not looking for perfection. You are looking for closest possible match. And not only that, but you have to do it super quickly, because in the time that you've got allowed for your questions, you got less than 2 minutes per question. Okay? So are we all doing okay so far? We've got another channel member notified, Maria. So thank you very much, Maria, for joining and supporting the channel. It's great to see you live. So yes, so the correct answer is A, because the way it is phrased, it gives the impression that this notification was not visible while people are discussing the rental. It seems that people can only see this notice when they're leaving, which is past the point that they have actually concluded the contract. So what we need for incorporation, we need the notification to be made before the contract is concluded. If the notification of additional terms and conditions comes after the contract is finished, it is too late. Okay? So that's the sort of gist of it. So this was a long way of saying that I don't like the question, but if we interpret the question in this way, it seems that A is the most plausible answer. And in fact, A is the correct answer indicated by the SRA. So let's move on and see if we get a question that is a little bit, I mean, this was not a difficult area of the law, but it was a difficult question to navigate because the question is not drafted in the most appropriate way. So let's move on to the second question, which is question 48. 4 chartered surveyors have set up together business. They've set up a limited liability partnership. 2 of them are designated members, and 2 of them are ordinary members of the limited liability partnership, the LLP. They all work full-time. The members all meet formally once a month to discuss profit and loss, cash flow, and financial forecasts. This financial information indicates that for the past year, the LLP is unable to pay its debts. The LLP has, however, continued in business, and the members have discussed ways of limiting costs. As a result, they've made considerable reductions in office expenditure. At one meeting a few months ago, one of the ordinary members suggested that they should obtain financial and potentially legal advice on their position. The suggestion was rejected on the basis that it would cost them too much money. A liquidator is therefore appointed for the insolvent winding up of the LLP. So, unfortunately, they didn't make it. The liquidator considers it clear that at the date of the meeting, there was no reasonable prospect that the LLP would avoid insolvent liquidation, and is considering whether to bring a claim for wrongful trading against all the members. Which of the following must the ordinary members show to establish a defense against the claim by the liquidator? Okay, so now we have a different area of the law that we're dealing with here. We are in FLK business law, and we're thinking specifically about wrongful trading, which is something that we consider in the context of insolvent liquidation. But we're looking at this not in view of a corporate failure, but in the failure of this limited liability partnership. So relevant legislation for you guys to have a look at here would be the Limited Liability Partnerships Act of 2000 and the Insolvency Act of 1986. I've got a couple of videos on insolvency. I've got a video on how to protect yourself from insolvency and what happens there. There are a few on additional protections like fixed and floating charges and all the rest of it. I think I've got one on the retention of title clauses too. So there's enough material around the channel that kind of takes you nicely through the requirements for FLK business law in the context of insolvency. But what's going on here? The liquidator is accusing the members of the partnership for being engaged in wrongful trading. Now, by the way, I just saw the message from Maria that says Why is it that we have notices in the gym before leaving belongings in lockers and so on? Every time you see a notice at the gym or in a public place, or a place that a lot of people can come in, is usually after you have already concluded the contract or you've paid to get in. These notices, if they're not also represented in terms and conditions that were in writing or have been communicated to you in advance, they're there just for you to pay attention. So they are not of legal consequence if the first time that you see them is inside the building that you're using, but they are there to just make you to be more careful or to preempt any complaints afterwards. For instance, a common sign that you're going to see if you park your car in a car park that you're paying for, it's going to have some notices inside the car park that say, "We're not responsible for any loss if you leave valuable items in your car." This is not there to insert terms and conditions into the contract because it would be too late. You've already, picked your ticket from the machine. But it is there to make you a little bit more careful so you don't leave your phone on the dashboard when you're going for a coffee. You see what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, it's a good question because it does raise this issue for a lot of people. Like, if they're of no contractual significance, why do we have these notifications all over the place? So let's come back to the question with the LLP. Now, the liquidator is accusing these people of wrongful trading. This is a technical term that means the people who are running either a limited liability partnership or a company have continued to run it past the point of reasonableness. So they know that the company is not going to make it. They know that the financials are in such a position that the company is going to default. Yet they continue to incur expenses. They continue to make things worse. And as a result, they risk the creditors having even less money available at the end by continuing to do business. If that happens, and the court finds these are provisions in the Insolvency Act. If this happens and the court finds that they were in fact involved in wrongful trading, then they are asked to contribute out of their own funds to compensate the creditors of the business who are. Aha. Is this it? Have I managed to come back in? Oh man, I have been running around for so long. So it turns out that if the computer kind of crashes while you're trying to do something and then you try and reconnect, it leaves the stream on, but it doesn't give you an opportunity to kind of jump back into the stream. So sorry guys about all this, that it kicked me out and it took me so long to come back in. This is really disappointing. But yeah, I mean, spectacularly, it let me back in right now. So what I don't know what I should do really to address this. I tried to go live on the phone and to try and catch you guys that way, but I don't think anybody saw that stream because this one kept on going. So it kept on going with a blank screen while I was trying to stream through another one. So, what can you do? What can you do? Is the miracle of technology. So because it's getting a little late now, and I think you guys have probably spent a great deal of your coffee break, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come back and finish the stream soon, potentially tomorrow. I will distribute a notice so we can have like a catch-up stream. So we had stopped at question 48 with the surveyors and the LLP. Right. So let me put a message to this. So they say we will finish for so long. We'll come back shortly, picking up on question 48. And you see, I was doing so well being so enthusiastic about the contract law question, which was question 47. No, I was just left hanging. Okay. Right. So I'm going to end the stream now. Try and get my ducks back in order. And I'll catch you guys again soon. I will communicate to everybody a replacement stream to take place shortly. All right. Sorry for the hassle, guys, and enjoy the rest of your coffee break. See ya.